Joining us here on the Weather Network, I'm Emily Vukovic. It's Wednesday, it is the 5th of February, and we are in storm watch as a significant storm is moving its way through southern Ontario. We do have a snowfall warning in place. It's areas around the Niagara region, pretty much up towards Oakville, stretching straight down to Windsor. It's all along the shore of Erie and Ontario. This is really starting to intensify. Now, if we look at the wide radar, we are seeing this system impact a lot of Canada as well as the United States. And the different colors represent the different types of precipitation. We're in snow through southern Ontario. A lot of areas are seeing some mixing and then stretching right down towards the Gulf Coast. We are seeing rain with some thunderstorm activity. Close-up radar, here's what we're seeing throughout the GTA. This is going to be the bulk of our moisture. We're going to see our heaviest snow moving in through about 7 a.m., lasting until about 1. So that's going to be the toughest time to get around. Mind you, my commute in on the QEW at around 3 o'clock wasn't pretty. We're seeing a decent band coming in through Oakville right now. This is going to literally move out as fast as it's going to move in. By mid-afternoon, we're going to be finished with the bulk of the moisture. A few lingering flurries behind it. Northerly winds, we've got cold temperatures throughout the day. Our winds are certainly going to be a big story. Our winds are going to be gusting upwards of 50 to 60. Some areas along the shores of Ontario could even see winds up to 70 kilometers an hour, which means this light, fluffy snow is going to be blowing around. But it'll be easy to shovel. I guess that's the silver lining, right? Oakville through Hamilton and in through Niagara, St. Catharines, that's kind of our big bullet right now, 15 to 25 centimeters. But Toronto, we're in line to see anywhere between 10 to 15, and it's going to be that light, fluffy snow, so it's going to pile up very quickly. Now, we're going to check in with Kevin Yard. He joins us in Hamilton this morning. And Kevin, how was the commute getting from Oakville to Hamilton? Welcome back. Our storm watch coverage continues. We are watching this significant storm move its way through southern Ontario. Right now, we do have a snowfall warning in place. It stretches from Oakville into the Niagara region, through Hamilton, through Port Stanley, all the way down towards Windsor. Some of these areas could easily pick up 15 to 20 centimeters of snow. Now, looking at the radar, it is going to be all snow for southern Ontario. Remember on the weekend where we actually saw that fine line of mixing, especially to our south, areas north of the 401 saw all snow? Well, this system, our temperatures are cold enough that we are going to be all snow for this. The bulk of the moisture is going to be moving in throughout the morning hours, lasting from about 7 a.m. until noon. It's going to be heavy at times. We're going to see those big fluffy snowflakes. We've got some lake enhancement coming off of Ontario right now through the Oakville, Hamilton area. The winds are starting to shift to a more northerly flow. 10 to 15 centimeters for the city of Toronto. We're looking at 15 possibly for Oakville, and in through Hamilton and St. Catharines closer to 25. Now, what to expect this morning? We already have about 2 to 5 centimeters on the ground. Increasing snowfall, and that's going to increase by about, well, I don't know. We're going to show you Kevin in a minute, and the snow has intensified in Hamilton already. The winds are going to be gusting 60 plus, which means that snow is going to be blowing and drifting. It's going to be an issue for your morning commute. It's going to be an issue for your afternoon, evening commute. So stay with us here at the Weather Network, and we're going to provide you with all the updates. Right now, we're going to check in with Kevin. He is in Hamilton, Ontario, with a very busy man. Kevin, I'm amazed that you could get this snowplow driver to stop. He must be so busy today. The busy morning here at the Weather Network. We're in storm watch as the significant system moves its way in through southern Ontario. Snowfall warning in place. Oakville, Niagara Falls, Dunnville, Simcoe, Port Stanley, straight down to Windsor. Notice how it's hugging the shores of Erie and Ontario. That's where we're going to see the biggest impact. It's not going to be like the storm we saw over the weekend where areas north of the 401 saw the heavier snow. This is going to be south of the 401 QEW stretch. Nightmare this morning. Here's a look at the wide shot radar and the closer up one. We're actually seeing a heavy band moving in through the Burlington area, which is where we join Kevin Yard right now. So we're going to go to him. He has got more details on what's happening on the ground right now. Kevin, how's the snow? How's the wind?
And more information on this storm.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, if you look at our snowfall totals in Oakville, I mean, that band that's coming off of Ontario, this is going to increase totals through the Oakville-Burlington area. This could be closer to 15 centimeters for us. And then down through Hamilton and in through St. Catharines, again, lake enhancement could really pump this up. So we could be seeing anywhere between 15 and 25 centimeters. It's intense. All right, we've got Mike Arsenault. He's our social media guy today. And Mike, joining us at the Active Weather Set, what are people saying on Twitter? What are people saying on Facebook? How are people reacting to this next storm?
Well, Emily, I put the question out yesterday on Twitter.
Hey, speak for yourself there, Mike. No, I'm totally up. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm a weather wimp. My drive today on the QEW was a mess. It was tricky. I mean, lucky for me, it was 3 a.m. and there weren't a lot of cars on the road today, but still, snow covered. I know the plows are out, Tom, but still, it is going to be tricky to clear this with all of that blowing and drifting that we're going to experience.
I told you you're going to get 25 right over your house, and that's exactly what you're getting right now. As you head out onto the QEW, let's have a look at it.
We're in Storm Watch. I'm Emily Vukovic. Pretty intense system moving in through southern Ontario this morning. We do have a snowfall warning in place. Stretches from Oakville right down to Windsor. Some areas 15, 25 centimeters, not out of the question. Looking at the radar, you can see a heavier band really starting to move in through the Goderich. It's even stretching as far as Kitchener-Waterloo. Separately, we're seeing a band coming off the shores of Ontario with those northeasterly winds, and that's hitting Burlington and Oakville pretty hard. So heavy accumulations already starting to build. We've got total snowfall amounts, as you can see, pretty intense. Oakville's in that 15 centimeter range. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more because we're seeing this heavy band of lake enhancement coming off of Ontario. Hamilton as well as Niagara expected to get heavy amounts of snow throughout the morning hours. This will taper off by this afternoon, but until then it is going to be tricky to get around. We join Kevin. He's in Burlington right now. And Kevin, how are the temperatures? I know we're seeing quite a bit of snow, but it's pretty cold too, isn't it?
Here, and the guys and gals are out at this strip mall doing all their best to plow. And of course, they're probably only going to plow more than once today. Back inside to you.
Thanks, Kevin. We now join Arda Orcal, who's at the airport. It's all about the flight delays. I was just checking up on Twitter, Arda, and I've noticed already some cancellations through Air Canada, through Porter, all the way down to the States. All right, thanks so much, Arda. I know on my commute into work, I was going about 50 on the QEW. It was nasty. Here's Tom with more details on what we can expect this morning. Welcome back. We're in Storm Watch as a very intense system moves its way through southern Ontario. We're already starting to see really good bands coming off the shores of Huron as well as in through Ontario, through the Hamilton-Burlington area. Snowfall warning in place through Oakville, Hamilton, Niagara, all the way down to Windsor. If you are traveling today, here is a man you're going to want to check in with, Arda Orcal. He's at the airport, and Arda, flights have been canceled and delayed already. All right, thanks so much, Arda. Well, you can see on the radar where the heavier snow is falling right now. This is the bulk of the moisture. This is what's going to be reaching the GTA in the next little while. This is the heavy snow that we're expecting to blow and be drifting throughout the morning commute. It is going to be a mess for so many people. We're looking at about 10 to 15 centimeters for the city of Toronto. We're seeing a very fine band coming over the shores of Ontario, hitting the Burlington-Oakville area right now. And that is where we join Kevin Yard. He is in Burlington. And Kevin, it's like the snowflakes just keep getting larger and larger every time we go to you. Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kevin. We'll check back in with you in just a little while. What to expect this morning from about 6 a.m. to noon. Of course, we've already received about 2 to 5 centimeters of snow. This is going to increase through the morning hours. The winds are going to be gusting 60 plus. That's a huge story because Kevin was just showing us the texture of that snow. It's going to be blowing and drifting around, causing poor visibility. And Tom, I would not be surprised if we saw some whiteout conditions on the QEW, just in that kind of stretch through Hamilton, St. Catharines, that kind of corridor.
Well, absolutely.
I think I'm going to make the Storm Watch music my new ringtone on my phone. I feel like that's how frequently I'm hearing it lately. We are in storm watch again as another powerful system moves its way through southern Ontario. We do have a snowfall warning in place that stretches from Oakville straight down to Windsor. Some of these areas 15 to 25 centimeters, not out of the question. Looking at the radar, you can see heavier bands coming off of Lake Ontario in through the Oakville-Burlington area. We also have the bulk of the moisture really starting to move over Lake Huron right now. This is stretching as far as Kitchener, Waterloo. Everybody is going to see an impact from this. And Kevin joins us live in Burlington this morning, where we have seen that very fine band coming off of Lake Ontario, bringing in fairly decent amounts of snow. But I guess the good news is that I'm a little bit of a weather whip. I thought it was a little colder out than you do. But you're saying temperatures are relatively comfortable?
They are plowing here at this strip mall, back inside of the studio.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. Is it going to be a snow day? Well, with these amounts, maybe 15 to 25 centimeters for areas just south of Ontario along the shores of Erie. We've got Mike Arsenault. He's joining us at the Active Weather Set. And Mike, it is all about social media this morning. People are tweeting you. I know a lot of kids are keeping their fingers crossed for a snow day today, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people asking, are we going to have a snow day?
Well, we say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and you'll certainly need a hearty one this morning because you'll have a lot of snow to shovel. Yeah, we've got a serious accumulation on the way through much of southern Ontario. Some areas could pick up 15 centimeters, while other areas down towards Hamilton and into the Niagara Peninsula could see closer to 25. Temperatures, they're not that bad. We're looking at -5 this morning for Toronto, down towards the south, London -5, and to the east, Kingston -7.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by...
Good morning. Our Storm Watch coverage continues. I'm Emily Vukovic. We're going to start things off by taking a look at the snowfall warning. It stretches from Oakville right through Hamilton into the Niagara region, straight down towards Windsor. So if you were traveling the QEW, even the 401 could be a little dicey at times. We're seeing quite a bit of snow moving in through southern Ontario. Here's a quick look at the radar. We have been seeing a fairly fine but decent band coming off of Ontario straight through the Burlington kind of Oakville area. It is starting to ease slightly, but not much. And now we're starting to see the bulk of the moisture move its way over Lake Huron. And this is what's really going to be impacting the GTA throughout the morning hours. We join Kevin. He is in Burlington right now, where we're seeing that heavier band. And Kevin, like I was mentioning before, every single time we go to you, it looks like the snowflakes are actually getting bigger. All right, thanks so much, Kevin. That light, fluffy snow is going to amount to about 10 to 15 centimeters for the city of Toronto, down through Oakville and in through the Niagara region. That's where we could see the heavier bullet of about 15 to 25. If you have travel plans today, well, it is going to be a bit of a mess. We've got Arda Okal at the airport. And Arda, in terms of flight cancellations and delays, what are you seeing so far? All right, thanks so much, Arda. We'll check back in with you in just a little while. So as Kevin was mentioning, we already have anywhere from 2 to 5 centimeters of snow on the ground. This is going to increase in intensity throughout the morning hours. The winds are going to be gusting 60 plus, and that is going to be a huge issue for commuters this morning. Drifting and blowing snow. And Tom, I wouldn't be surprised if stretches on that QEW, people see whiteouts. Well, I've got good news. We are going to see some sunshine tomorrow. -7 is our daytime high. Friday, coldest day of the week by far. That's my bad news. It's going to feel closer to -18 when you factor in the wind. By Saturday, still seeing sunshine. And Sunday, we're going to get clipped by a system moving in through Atlantic Canada. Could give us a few more centimeters through the GTA. But over the last 8 weekends, we have been in storm watch for 6 of them. This system, a little different, coming in midweek. This is certainly going to be impacting travel a lot more. People are getting up right now, going to work, going to school. We've already had a few bus cancellations, and I'm going to get other people to tell you those details. But for me, I'm going to take a look at the snowfall warning that stretches all the way from Oakville straight down towards Windsor. It's primarily along the shores of Erie and Ontario. This system is going to intensify throughout the morning hours. We've already seen a very intense band coming off of Lake Ontario, moving through the Burlington-Oakville area, and we're starting to see the bulk of the moisture for us move over the shores of Huron. This is already stretching into the Kitchener-Waterloo area. We have Kevin Yard. He's joining us live in Burlington this morning, where we have been seeing that very heavy band. Kevin, what's the scene on traffic right now? Like, what can you see from where you are on how fast or slow cars are traveling? Thanks, Kevin.
Thank
and
you.
you know what else I want to mention? Okay, so we don't necessarily have school closures, but we do have school bus cancellations. I think that's what Kevin meant. As I was brushing off my car this morning at 3 a.m., I slipped and I fell because there's ice underneath the snow. So if you haven't cleared everything away off your sidewalk and your steps, just be extra cautious because I did fall over. Luckily, I didn't hurt myself because I'm here, but you know. Okay, snowfall totals. We are going to be seeing significant amounts, and this is going to impact travel greatly. We're going to check in with Arda Okal, who's at Pearson right now. Are a lot of people getting frustrated because of these flight cancellations, Arda?
And she tried to find somebody to give it to the lost and found. So amidst all the hustle, bustle, and commotion, there are some people still doing some good things despite everything that's going on this morning, Emily.
Thanks, Arda. That is good news. Heavy snowfall on the way, certainly impacting your commute. Here's Tom with more. Thanks for staying with us. Our Storm Watch coverage continues as we track a very powerful system moving through southern Ontario. This has just become a nightmare for travel. We do have a snowfall warning in place stretching from Oakville right down to Windsor. Some areas seeing heavier snow bands. We have been watching a band coming off of Lake Ontario in through the Oakville-Burlington area. Looks as though it has started to slow down slightly, but now we're starting to see the bulk of the moisture move over Lake Huron and track its way in through the Kitchener-Waterloo area, reaching the Toronto area in the next half hour or so. Kevin Yard has been in Burlington all morning long. And Kevin, I mean, it just looks, just by looking at you, it looks as though the snow has started to slow down just slightly for the time being. All right, thanks so much, Kevin. We'll check back in with you in just a little while. Now, this 10 to 15 centimeters of snow through the Toronto area is not enough to cancel, or close, I should say, schools, but certainly enough to possibly cancel school buses. Mike is joining us. He's our social media guy today. Mike, what have you been reading on Twitter and Facebook about school closures or bus cancellations?
Well, school. Emily, what's next for this system?
Well, I'm glad you're the bearer of bad news for once. Normally it's me. Tom always makes me the bad guy. Well, I am kind of the bad guy right now because our winds are just going to increase. The snowfall totals are going to increase. The intensity of this system is going to increase. And with the drifting and blowing snow, Tom, we're going to see wind gusts about 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. That is certainly going to be an issue for commuters. Welcome back. We have been in Storm Watch for, well, the last 12 hours or so. Wait, let me rephrase that. 24 hours throughout the GTA because of this snowstorm that's moving through the region right now. We have a snowfall warning stretches from Oakville right down to Windsor. The snow bands are starting to intensify over Lake Huron. We are seeing a little bit of a dry spot. That's good news for travelers. We join Arda Okal. He's at the airport. And Arda, being at Pearson, what's the mood? Are people anxious about this snow that's coming in? Are people worried about flight cancellations, flight delays? I know you've seen many to begin with. All right, thanks so much, Arda. Honestly, just looking behind him, the airport is one of my favorite places because it just means you're going somewhere. All right, snowfall totals, they are impressive. We could potentially see up to 25 centimeters just through the Niagara Peninsula. Northerly winds bringing in cooler air. Kevin joined us in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, I know I was complaining about the temperatures when I came in today, but you're saying it's not that bad out this morning. Thank you for staying with us as your Storm Watch coverage continues right here on the Weather Network. We have a significant system moving through southern Ontario right now. Environment Canada has issued a snowfall warning for Oakville, Niagara, through Hamilton, stretching all the way down towards the Windsor area. We have been seeing pretty intense bands coming off of Ontario through the Oakville-Burlington area. That has now started to ease. If you look at the radar, you can see we're just kind of in this dry slot right now. So the snow has really started to ease, but look at the bulk of the moisture. That's really going to interrupt any kind of morning travel. We have Kevin Yard. He's joining us live in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, when we were with you about an hour ago, big, heavy, white snowflakes coming down. Now, conditions are much more favorable for people trying to get around.
Traffic conditions.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. We're going to check in with Tom in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at our snowfall forecast. Anywhere between 15 and 25 centimeters through Oakville and Hamilton and in through the Niagara region. Toronto City itself, we're looking at about 10 to 15 centimeters, and this is going to affect Mississauga as well. And that is where we find Arda. He's at the airport at Pearson. I can see behind you it is just getting busier and busier, and unfortunately I think more flights are getting canceled and more flights are getting delayed. People are probably not thrilled about that. I would think if it's not, it should be. That's for sure. Thanks so much, Arda. Socks and sandals, you know what? They've got to be on their way to a hot destination so they could just whip the socks off and then they've got sandals when they get off the airplane. All right, blowing and drifting snow certainly becoming an issue, Tom. We're going to be seeing that light fluffy snow continue throughout the morning commute, and that could be very hazardous for drivers, especially to the south. The good news is that we're in a bit of a dry slot through the Oakville, kind of Burlington, Hamilton area. The bad news is that we do have more snow on the way. Environment Canada has issued a snowfall warning stretching from Oakville through Niagara, Hamilton, all the way down towards the Windsor area. Some communities could pick up 25 centimeters of snow. Looking on the radar, right there. That's that dry slot. But the bulk of the moisture, the center of the low, still has yet to approach the city of Toronto, so more is on the way. Are schools closed? What about school buses? Well, Mike Arsenault is our social media guy today. And Mike, I know a lot of kids, and I really liked your description of the backpack in one hand and the sled in the other. Yeah, I think it's a backpack kind of day, isn't it?
Definitely is a backpack day, especially, and I know both you and I are miserable with the winter. We cannot wait for the sun and the sand.
Yeah, I have about a week to go for that. I'm not going to rub it in that I'm going to Antigua next week. I'm going to take a look at these snowfall totals, however. 10 to 15 centimeters, not out of the question for the city of Toronto. Down towards Hamilton, Niagara, where we're going to see a little bit more enhancement. That's where we can see that kind of heavier 15 to 20 bullet. We've got Kevin. He's joining us in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, Tom and I were, well, Tom was making a joke yesterday that because I live in Oakville and I'm right on that kind of Burlington border, that 25 centimeters is going to fall right on my house. And with that band, it looked pretty intense. But how much would you say is on the ground there right now? It is a very busy morning here at the Weather Network as our storm watch coverage continues. Snowfall warnings have been issued by Environment Canada. They stretch through the Oakville area, through Niagara and Hamilton. They stretch all the way down to Windsor. It's not going to be a good commute this morning, to say the least. Some areas have been dealing with blowing and drifting snow already, with the winds picking up. We're seeing sustained winds at about 30 kilometers an hour, gusting upwards of 50 kilometers an hour. The good news is that we're in a little bit of a dry slot through the Hamilton, kind of Oakville area. Toronto seeing some snowfall right now. I know it's piling up through the York region right now, but the bulk of the moisture, the center of the low, still has to move into the GTA, and that's going to be happening within the next hour or so. Kevin Yard has been joining us in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, the snow that we're seeing, that light, fluffy stuff, it's not good for snowplow drivers because once they plow, it just blows back on the road. All right, thanks so much, Kevin. Yeah, it's not only going to be an issue for people driving, but people heading to the airport and hoping to get out of here, hopefully for a sunny destination. Now, Arda, we were chatting about socks and sandals. Yeah, the fashion police should definitely be on that. But I'm thinking it's the people that are going away to warm destinations. So when they're on the plane, they can just whip off the socks and then they're all ready to go. I hope that's what the reason is.
Emily, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm thinking it's because people are they're beyond caring. They just don't care anymore. They're just ready to go on vacation and throw on the Hawaiian shirt and the socks and sandals and they're good to go. Thanks, Arda. All right, well, the wind has picked up. We're starting to see blowing and drifting snow. And Tom, you were mentioning that this snow, it's got enough moisture in it that it's sticking to tires.
Well, sure, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's certainly fairly light, but it is wet. And with that, it's sticking to tires. And
we are in storm watch. We have a significant winter storm on the way through the GTA. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, okay, that's good. I'm done. Enough of winter. I'm over the snow. Well, unfortunately, we do have a snowfall warning in place for those of us that love the snow. If we ski, if we board, this is good news. Anywhere between 10 to 20 centimeters in some of these communities. If you want to look at the radar, we can actually see where the more intense bands are moving through. We're starting to see the bulk of the low move its way over Huron. Places like Hamilton and Oakville and Burlington, everybody's kind of in a dry slot right now. City of Toronto seeing snow. It's piling up through North York, through Uxbridge, through Newmarket, and through Oshawa, starting to see the snow intensify. Kevin has been joining us in Burlington all morning long. And Kevin, when we first went to you about 2 hours ago, I mean, the snowflakes were huge. Now they've started to ease. It's that light, fluffy snow. The winds are starting to pick up. This is going to be bad news for people traveling not only on the roads, but on the sidewalks, because there's still that sheer layer of ice underneath.
With the traffic conditions.
All right, thanks, Kevin. We'll get to Tom in just a moment, but first we want to talk about a little different kind of travel instead of road commute. Air commute. We've got Arda joining us at the airport, and Arda, I know a lot of people are probably getting really frustrated with these flight delays, not so much to tropical destinations as you were mentioning, but certainly down towards the United States through New York and through New Jersey, seeing a lot of bad weather right now.
Much like the fashion that we've been seeing here, Emily. The socks and sandal count, by the way, Emily, up to 10. Up to 10.
No.
We're up to double digits. Can you believe that?
You know what, though? I kind of can. People are going on vacation. They don't care anymore. All right, let's turn things over to Tom. He's got an update on your commute. Kicking off Storm Watch with a snowfall warning from Environment Canada. It stretches through Oakville, Niagara Falls, and through Hamilton, all the way down to Windsor. If you've got travel plans on the QEW, it is going to be a mess today. The radar is showing us kind of in a dry slot through the Oakville area and into Hamilton, but more, as you can see, is on the way, and it is going to be intense, especially because of our winds. Now, Mike, he's been joining us at our active weather set. You've been talking all things social media. A lot of kids are not thrilled with you because you actually told them, and I'm totally putting the blame on you, that schools were still open even though buses were canceled. But I am guessing that some kids, they're just not going to go anyways, even if their school's open, because they just can't get there by bus.
Absolutely. A lot of cancellations. Wind and the cold, much like Catherine. In just about a week, I think, will I step up and take over for you.
Yeah, you're going to have to fill my shoes for a good week because I'm going to be in Antigua. See you later, 15 centimeters of snow. That is what we can expect today through Oakville. Kevin is joining us. He's live in Burlington this morning. When we started our show at 5 a.m., tons of snow coming down in Burlington. Now we're in that dry slot, Kevin. But still, roads, they're dicey. There's still snow covered behind you. I agree. Thanks, Kevin. A lot of kids are going to be happy. A lot of parents are not. You're really going to have to use your muscles today. Get those shovels out because of the snowfall accumulations and the blowing and the drifting snow. You're going to go out, you're going to shovel, you're going to go back inside, have a cup of coffee and look out the window and go, wait a minute, I thought I just shoveled that. Blowing and drifting snow, certainly an issue for commuters. And Tom, you were mentioning the moisture in this snow. It's sticking to tires, and that's certainly having an impact on people's braking ability.
Well, that's right. You just get everything into your wheel wells, and all your tires and all the treads get full of this wet snow.
Good morning. We are in Storm Watch. This system has really had a huge impact on travel this morning, not only for areas in and around the GTA, but areas further north, even up towards the Barrie area. We're seeing a fairly large band coming off. After I show you the snowfall warning, a lot of areas seeing anywhere from 10 to 20 centimeters of snow. We'll show you the radar, and you can actually see heavy snow moving in through the Barrie area right now, just north of London through Goderich. We're seeing heavier snowfall. We were in a little bit of a dry slot through the Hamilton, Oakville, Burlington area, but where we join Kevin Yard right now, he's in Burlington. And Kevin, a little bit of a difference now. Before we were seeing kind of, I don't want to say clear conditions, but the snow, it's now starting to come back.
Yeah, you're right. It is starting to come back, that light, fluffy snow here in Burlington, where we are on Brant Street in Elgin. And we have seen about 2 to 5 centimeters of snow so far. Temperatures anywhere.
He froze. That's it. It's so cold, he froze. Now, we're going to get to Kevin's story in just a few moments. We're having a little technical glitch. So right now, we're going to check in with Arda. He's at the airport, and people getting frustrated for flight delays and cancellations. I mean, it could be worse. We have to look at it that way. We could be down in the States where they're not only dealing with incredibly heavy snow, like through New York State, but freezing rain. We have thunder snow reported in some areas. It has just been a mess down there.
I want to introduce and say hello to Crocs. I've seen a few of those now. I don't know what to think of those. I know Suzanne wears them around the office. What about you, Emily? What's your thought on Crocs?
I have negative thoughts about Crocs, but that's just me. You're right. Susie has a pair, and they're bright green, and she totally sports them, and they actually suit some people. Me, not so much. To the airport, they're comfortable. They might be comfortable to fly in. All right, we've got about 15 to 25 centimeters of snow on the way to the heavier hit areas, but for the most part, the wind is certainly going to be a big story, Tom. Blowing and drifting snow causing a mess on the roads. We are in storm watch as a low moves its way through southern Ontario. We're seeing intense bands coming off of Huron and even Lake Ontario. We saw a very fine band coming in through the Oakville-Burlington area. That has since eased. We were in a dry spot for a little while, and now it's starting to pick up again. Snowfall warning stretches from Oakville right down towards Windsor. Here's a look at the radar, and you can see this is messy not only for Ontario, but straight down towards the U.S. Another low has formed in the Atlantic, and it's really starting to draw strength from all of this moisture. So it's actually taking over from our original Texas low. Snowfall amounts may not be as bad. That's good news for commuters. Now, we've got Kevin. He's joining us in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, you went from having your hat on to taking it off to putting it back on again. So I'm assuming things are starting to intensify again.
We're back inside of the studio.
All right. Thanks so much, Kevin. Here's a close-up shot of the radar, and you can see heavier snow moving just north of London. So along the 401 corridor, this is not good for people trying to get anywhere this morning. Arda Orcal joins us at the airport. He's at Pearson. And Arda, I know you've been talking to travelers. Some people are able to get to where they're going, other people not so much. It's the tropical destinations. I think people should start changing their flights, because if people can get to those tropical destinations, why not? All right, thanks so much, Arda. Now, getting to the airport is certainly going to be tricky with these snowfall amounts. Now, we could still pick up an additional 4 to 5 centimeters throughout the city of Toronto on top of what we originally had forecasted. So, 8 to 11 centimeters, certainly not out of the question. Heavier amounts down towards the south. Tom, what is it looking like on the roads right now? I know we've got blowing and drifting snow, and we're seeing heavier bands picking up along the 401. Any major incidents because of it? Storm watch coverage continues with a large low moving its way through southern Ontario, bringing with it heavy snow. We do have a snowfall warning in place for Oakville and through Niagara, Hamilton, all the way down towards Windsor. Looking at the radar, you can actually see where the heavier bands are starting to move in. We are seeing north of the 401 some heavy snow, so commuters, it's not going to be a good one today. Down towards Windsor, they're back into heavier snowfall. We've seen fits and spurts of some freezing drizzle being reported at Pearson. So again, it's going to be a very slippery drive. Now, I know a lot of kids were excited about the potential for a school closure today. We head to Mike Arsenault. He joins us at our active weather set. He's our social media guru today. And Mike, have kids been tweeting you nasty messages?
There's been a few messages. I actually can't show them on air because I'll probably lose my job.
By the way, Mike, this time next week, I will be at the airport on my way to Antigua. Sorry. You said it, not me. All right, snowfall totals, they're going to be substantial. The snow is going to be picking up. It's going to be blowing and drifting. Just a mess for people trying to get around. We join Kevin. He's in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, it's not only tricky on the roads, but tricky underfoot as well. Our storm watch coverage continues, and as we get into the thick of this system, we're starting to see snowfall accumulations throughout Burlington and Oakville and Hamilton, into Toronto and Mississauga. Now, we do have a snowfall warning in place. We're talking total snowfall amounts anywhere from 10 to about 17, possibly even 20 centimeters of snow. Looking at the radar right now, you can see the heavier bands moving along the 401 corridor. We're just about to see another swath move in through the QEW around Hamilton and in through Niagara. We've got Kevin. He's joining us in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, I know temperatures aren't certainly a big concern for people today. We're actually not that bad, even though it does feel a little colder when you factor in the wind.
And I'm going to give you another look at the water here at the Burlington Pier. Back inside to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin. Now, we've updated our snowfall graphics, so things look different, but nothing has really changed. I mean, we've already picked up anywhere between 5 to, say, 7 centimeters through Burlington and in through Oakville, so an additional 10, certainly not out of the question, and down towards the south, we could see a little bit more than that. Now, this snow is not only affecting ground commute, but air commute as well, and Arda is joining us at the airport. Arda, I know a lot of people have been talking to you about their flight delays, their flight cancellations, but it's mostly business travelers that are dealing with the kind of backlog and the delays. All right, thanks so much, Arda. Now, winds are certainly going to be an issue. It's that light, fluffy snow. It's easy to shovel, but it picks up very easily from the wind, and we're going to see blowing and drifting snow, and that has certainly caused an issue not only on the QEW, Tom, but on the 401 corridor as well. Well, if you're just getting up now and you've decided to give yourself a bit of a late start today, it's going to get even later as you step out because we've got tons of snow on the ground. We've already picked up close to 5, possibly 7 centimeters through Oakville and in through Burlington. Downtown Toronto also seeing significant snowfall. Most areas along the shores of Erie and just the southern shore of Ontario into that snowfall warning, up to 20 centimeters possible. Some areas are seeing more enhancement than others. For example, where Kevin Yard is joining us, he is in Burlington this morning and he's on the pier. Burlington and Oakville saw kind of a band coming off the shores of Ontario, and that has certainly upped the snowfall totals as of right now. Kevin, what are the winds like right now? Thanks, Kevin. Stay away from the edge. Stay away from the pier. All right, looking at the radar, you can see heavier swaths of snow moving through, and Hamilton area still seeing a little bit of freezing drizzle being reported, so roads are going to be really slick. It's not only road travel that we're more concerned with today, it's also air travel, and Arda Okal joins us at the airport. Arda, we've been talking about tropical destinations, and those flights seem to be okay. Business travelers seem to be having quite the hiccup this morning. If people are traveling in through New Jersey, if they're traveling in through New York, I mean, those are the people that are typically seeing these cancellations and delays, correct? All right, thanks, Arda. Well, it's no wonder when we do have an additional 10 centimeters on the way through many areas. We already have about 5 to 7 centimeters on the ground. Blowing and drifting snow, Tom, certainly an issue for commuters today. Our Storm Watch update continues. My handy producer, John, if you could let me know which are the new cities that are added to our snowfall warning. It literally... Okay, never mind. Mike's got the sheet. He's going to fill us in. It literally got updated the second I came to air. So Mike's going to have more details on that. But for now, I know these areas. Oakville, Niagara, Hamilton, through Dunnville, Port Stanley, Chatham, Windsor, everybody's in it. Additional snowfall, 10 plus centimeters. Okay, we're going to check in with Mike. He's got the updated list for the snowfall warning. Mike, the City of Toronto has now been added.
That is correct, Emily. City of
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Here's a look at the radar, and you can see it's no wonder the City of Toronto has now been added to a snowfall warning. We've got a heavy band moving over the city right now. Hamilton mixing with a little bit of freezing drizzle. Behind it, we'll take a look. We still have quite a bit of snow on the way throughout the lower Great Lakes down towards the United States. I was just looking at some pictures on Twitter of the ice that is now forming through parts of New Jersey. It's not good for traveling, and we're going to check in with Arda in a few minutes. But first, let's go to Kevin. He is joining us in Burlington this morning. He's down at the pier. And Kevin, what are the winds feeling like right now?
Yep.
Thanks, Kevin. It looks like just out there. Anybody watching at home is going, oh, that's it. I'm not going out. An additional 10 plus centimeters, certainly not out of the question through many cities. And Tom, what was that you were just mentioning about water crashing actually onto the QEW?
Yeah, what's happening?
Our Storm Watch coverage continues. We're watching a very significant low move its way in through southern Ontario. Added to this warning, City of Toronto, Sarnia, London, Woodstock, Halton Hills, Mississauga, Caledon, Vaughan, Pickering, Belleville, all the way up to Kingston. We're having some technical issues. That's why we're not updating this, but those are all cities that are now included in this warning. Those northeast winds are going to cause blowing and drifting snow. It's going to be a mess today for travelers, not only on foot, but by air. Arda's been joining us live at the airport this morning, and Arda, it looks as though you've stepped outside to get a real feel of what's happening. All right, thanks so much, Arda. That's good news. Those Caribbean destinations. 1 week from today, I'm not even going to tell you where I'm going. We've got snow moving in through the city of Toronto, and see this very heavy band. Well, Kevin is just on the cusp of that in Burlington. And that little pink around Hamilton, by the way, not freezing drizzle. That's just a little blip on the radar. Kevin is in Burlington right now. We're seeing snow coming down. The winds are really starting to pick up. Kevin, how are you faring right now? All right, thanks, Kevin. An additional 10 centimeters in many of these areas, certainly not out of the question. We're going to turn things over to Tom right now. He's got an update on road conditions. Tom, you were talking about the water actually getting onto the QEW. That cannot be good for motorists.
Well, we're the QEW, that's right.
Storm Watch coverage continues here at the Weather Network. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us this morning. We are in a snowfall warning through the city of Toronto, through Mississauga, Milton, Hamilton, Oakville, Burlington, down towards Dunnville, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines. This stretches all the way down towards Windsor. It is going to intensify on and off throughout the day today. We have been seeing pretty decent bands going along the 401 corridor. And in fact, Tom's been saying that the 401 has actually been a little bit worse than the QEW, and he's going to update us on all of those details in just a few moments. Let's check in with Kevin. He joins us in beautiful Burlington, Ontario. The snow looking quite picturesque. I know a lot of people are probably a little tired of winter. Is that the consensus this morning, Kevin?
Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
We are not the only ones being affected by this storm throughout southern Ontario. This is really impacting the United States as well. And as you can see on the radar through Boston and New York and down towards Washington, it's going to be an icy mix for travelers trying to get there. And Arda, I know a lot of flights to these destinations have been delayed or canceled. All right, thanks so much, Arda. That's great advice. We do have an additional 10 centimeters on the way for many areas, and maybe even a little bit more than that when you throw in the lake enhancement. Winds have been gusting anywhere between 60 to 70 kilometers an hour throughout many areas, and that is certainly having an impact not only for flight travel, but for ground travel as well. Isn't that right, Tom?
Yeah.
Our storm watch coverage continues. City of Toronto now in a snowfall warning. We are looking at intense bands moving through the region, bringing in a lot of snow, really just hampering your commute by air, by road, underfoot. It's not good. Here's a look at the snowfall warning. Everybody's in it along the shores of Ontario and Erie. Here's a look at the radar. You can see the intense bands moving through the city right now. The darker the blue, the more snowfall that we're receiving. Now, it has been a mess of a commute for the QEW and for the 401. I know a lot of kids were hoping for a snow day. That may not be happening for lots of kids, but I do know that school buses were canceled this morning. Mike's been monitoring social media. And Mike, what are people saying so far on Twitter and Facebook about this storm?
Well, Emily.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be tricky for shoveling, but the good news is that it's that kind of light, fluffy snow. Here's a look at the wide radar and what doing down towards the United States. So we're not the only ones that are affected by this. Kevin joins us in Burlington this morning. And Kevin, you've been showing us kind of the snow grains this morning and how it's kind of that light, fluffy snow. I guess people might be excited to get out in these types of conditions.
It's that bad? It is pretty bad. The winds here in Oakville, they're gusting up to about 40 kilometers an hour, and in Hamilton, gusting up to about 50 kilometers an hour. I don't know. I drew the short stick, that's for sure. I don't know how I ended up outside instead of Tom or, say, Mike Arsenault. But anyways, here I am. It's cold. It's -5, feeling closer to -12 when you factor in the wind chill. Stay home if you can. All right, Tom, I don't know. Again, how did I luck out here? I think next time it's your turn.
Well, it's Emily. You look cold out there. That's for sure. Right now, highway conditions terrible.
Our very own Emily is outside our studios, and Emily, I can barely see you. You are all bundled up, and the snow is flying.
Honestly, this jacket is like you're wearing a duvet. It's awesome. I'm really, really, really warm. I mean, it's not epically cold out. I mean, we're sitting at about -5. Feels like -12 when you factor in the wind. And everybody in the newsroom, when somebody said, who wants to go outside? Everybody put their hand up, and I put mine up the highest, and I got chosen. Lucky me, right? Well, it's really not that bad. Light, fluffy snow on the ground. I can see the 403 from where I'm standing. It's slow. It's moving, but it's slow. So just give yourself tons of extra travel time today. I think that's certainly going to be the key factor. All right, Nadine, I'm going to come inside and warm up for a minute, so I'm going to throw things back to you.
Well, thank you, Emily, and I believe you. You put your hand up the highest. But we take a look at the radon samples. Our very own Emily Vukovic, however, she's outside our studios right here in Oakville, and it looks like the snow is coming down almost sideways, so that means, Emily, it's a bit on the windy side.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, it's not incredibly bad out here. It's about -6, feeling more like -15. The winds have been gusting up to about 40 to 50 kilometers an hour through the Hamilton, Toronto area. I mean, it's certainly not incredibly pleasant. Traffic is moving. I'm looking at the 403 right now. It's going slow. People are being cautious. And I think that's the big thing here, Nadine, is that you really want to give yourself lots of extra travel time today, because this is going to last until the early afternoon, snowfall. And then once it tapers off, we're still going to be dealing with blowing and drifting snow with those winds. So it's going to be very treacherous, whiteout conditions in some areas, especially travel on the QEW through Niagara, through Hamilton. It's going to be a mess. So with what's being said on social media, we're going to join Mike Arsenault right now. And, you know, it was between Mike and I as to who was going to go outside and be lucky enough to stand out here this morning. And, you know, I said, I'll take one for the team because, Mike, as we both know, I am going to be lying on a beach in Antigua with a pina colada in my hand this time next week. So I figured, you know what? I'll do it.
See, Emily, I know you can't see me right now, but you should see the size of the smile on my face. I am positively beaming seeing you outside, because you always tease me when I'm outside in -20, -30, -40 wind chills and blizzard conditions. You call me a weather wimp, and seeing you out there, it just really just fills my heart with joy, even though you are going on vacation. Let's take a look at some tweets now.